Steel City. Is everybody ready to go? Let's proclaim the greatest radio show.
Welcome back, fans. It is Thanksgiving week, and the Steelers are set to take on the Seattle Seahawks at Seattle on Sunday. I'm going to eat a lot of turkey, drink a lot of liquor, and then watch a lot of football basically all weekend long.
From
Pro
Thursday
football
through Sunday?
Yep. Thursday pro, Friday college, Saturday college, Sunday
Like
pro.
you give a crap about college football.
Oh, I don't care who wins, but I'm going to watch it.
Doubtful. You'll be watching something ridiculous.
There's nothing on, man. All shows are on hiatus for this week. That's why I actually watch football this week of the year, or college football this week of the year.
That's what Netflix is for.
I'm Netflixed out, man.
Netflixed out. You just got it hooked up like a week ago.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying the last couple days I've been blasting out Netflix, so I don't need it. I want sports this week.
All right. All college football.
Friday and Saturday. But like I said, the Steelers are taking on the Seahawks. Pittsburgh is sitting at 6-4, holding on to the 5th seed or 6th seed in the AFC wildcard race. Seattle is 5-5, and they are actually outside looking in if the playoffs would start today. To me, the bigger surprise is Seattle sitting at 5-5 than Pittsburgh sitting at 6-4. The Steelers have had so many injuries to key players, suspensions, etc., etc. Seattle, they dealt with Marshawn Lynch going down, but Thomas Rawls has stepped up in his absence. It's really just been their offense. Their O-line has been garbage this year. Russell Wilson's getting hammered into the freaking ground. He's on pace to get sacked almost 80 times.
They are 5-5, but they're 3-1 in their last 4 games, and they're 5-3 in their last 8 games. You remember they started out 0-2, and that was out without some of their defense. Remember, Cam
Chancellor was out.
Correct. Now, you look though, man. When you break this down, let's take a look at who they lost to and who they beat.
I'm looking at it.
The first game of the season they lost to the Rams.
Garbage.
Now that was a letdown, yes. But they also lost at the Packers in week 2 to start out 0-2.
Garbage.
Come on now. Losing to the Packers ain't that big of a deal.
Hey,
they lost.
The Lions beat the Packers at home, so Seattle should.
Understandable, but the Lions are playing better. The Packers were playing worse at that point. It's all about the point in the season, too. Look, they lost at the Bengals. They lost versus the Panthers, and they lost versus the Cardinals. So those are all tough games to win, and of course they lost them all. But let's look at who they beat. They beat the Bears. They beat the Lions. They beat the 49ers. They beat a Tony Romo-less Cowboys.
Like everybody.
And they beat the 49ers again. So there you go. They beat no one, and they lost to pretty much every good team they played.
Basically, and the big thing that sticks out here is Seattle lost 2 home games this year. The last 3 seasons, I don't think they lost 2 home games, maybe even 4 seasons. So to come out and lose 2 at home this year, although one was to Carolina and the other was to the Cardinals, and the Cardinals were the team that was actually able to beat Seattle at home the last couple years, probably the only team. But you still, I mean, if you consider yourself the type of team they think they are, and they think that they're the number 1 seed in the NFC and the best team, and I just don't see it this year. And I wouldn't be surprised if they missed out on the playoffs due to a tiebreaker. I think they're going to keep winning. I'm not saying they're going to fall off and whatever. But, I mean, I think Pittsburgh can win this game. Do I think they're going to? I don't know. I'm going to make you wait till the end of the episode to figure that out. But,
yeah,
I mean,
wait.
Say Seattle drops to 5-6. I mean, they're going to basically have to run the table to make the playoffs after that.
See, I don't think Seattle's as bad as we think. Like I said, they lost the first 2 games of the season when they didn't have some of their players. They're still second in passing yards allowed with 207.2, and they're 10th in rushing yards allowed with 96.4. But you look on the offensive side, they're the number 1 rushing team as well, 148.6 yards per game. Really, it comes down to the passing game this season, and really, you could say Russell Wilson, but they still need to put wide receivers around him. You remember they had Golden Tate. They got rid of him. What they have out there now is Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett. They brought in Jimmy Graham, but he hasn't really worked out. I mean, they really don't have the offensive weapons around them out there. The guys you could look at, like I said, just Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett, and Jimmy Graham are the 3 offensive weapons in the passing game. Doug Baldwin's leading the team in yards with 539. Jimmy Graham's right behind him at 530. They both have 44 receptions. Nobody on the team has more than 3 touchdown receptions. It's really about Seattle's passing game to me. I mean, you look at the rushing game. Obviously, you had Marshawn Lynch for most of the season. He only had a 3.8 yard per carry average, though. Just 3 touchdowns, only 1 carry over 20 yards. Now, he goes down. Thomas Rawls comes in. I'm not saying that's a good thing for Seattle, but Thomas Rawls isn't bad at all. In fact, he looks better than Marshawn Lynch has so far this season. He has 101 carries, 604 yards, almost 200 more yards in 10 less carries. He has a 6 yard per carry average, and he has 6 carries over 20 yards. So all in all, Thomas Rawls has been the better running back. Now, he hasn't been a starter, and a complimentary back usually does have bigger yards per carry averages just as a change of pace type player. But Thomas Rawls, I mean, you've seen him starting last week. What do you have? Over 200 yards, and he scored a touchdown. He also scored a touchdown in the passing game. I mean, this is a good player here, and I'm not saying it's a blessing in disguise for Seattle that Lynch went down, because you'd like to have both of them. But Thomas Rawls, I mean, I'd rather have him carrying the ball 20 times in a game.
I mean, he looks beast, but can he run against the Steelers' defense? They've only given up 3 touchdowns on the ground all year.
Yeah, they're the, 5th best team against the run this season? 6th, maybe?
5th. They're only giving up 93 yards per game.
Yeah, that's beast mode. But really, I think this is a game where I'm not going to say Seattle comes out and rushes all over the Steelers' defense, but I could see Thomas Rawls having 25 carries for maybe 80, 85 yards, and then Russell Wilson maybe having 35, 40 yards rushing, and Fred Jackson maybe getting a carry or 2 for a couple yards. So I could see them as a team going over 100 yards rushing. I don't think they'll hit their 148 per game mark, but I think Rawls will have a solid game, but he'll have a lot of carries for a little bit under 100 yards.
Now, I mentioned earlier that Wilson's been getting sacked a lot. Can the Steelers' defense get pressure on him? Look at this, man. His first year in the league, he was only sacked 33 times. Then 44, then 42 through full seasons. He is now at only game 10, and he's been sacked 35 times.
Yeah,
so that's a 3.5 pace per game. That's at least 18 more, you know what I mean? 20 more sacks. It's not as big as a number as it looked like it was going to be early in the season. They've shorted up a little bit, and they've changed their offense around a little bit. But he is pretty much running for his life. They're using mobile pockets more than they've had in the past. Not saying he wasn't mobile, but they would just let him get out on the perimeter, do his thing. Now they're actually trying to move the pocket around a little bit to help him out, help him get the ball out of his hands quicker. So if these Steeler linebackers can get it going, especially on the outside, Bud Dupree, Arthur Moats, James Harrison, if he plays this week, and Jarvis Jones, I mean, I think they could wreak a lot of havoc on Russell Wilson. He doesn't look the same this year. He looks more confused when plays are breaking down.
Well, I'll say, yeah, they're getting to Russell Wilson more this season, but you also don't want to over-pursue and let the run game beat you either. The way you stop the Seattle Seahawks is you got to stop that run first and make Russell Wilson beat you in the passing game. So, yeah, you want to get to him, but don't over-pursue and let that run beat you, because, like I said, just let him beat you in the passing game. No one has really stood out in this passing game. I mean, don't just let him stand back there forever, obviously, but make sure you stop the run first. That's the most important thing.
Do you think it matters Vic's running the scout team defense as Russell Wilson, and do you think it's really helping the defense at all?
Well, look, they've played 2 mobile quarterbacks this season. They played the San Francisco 49ers, obviously.
Kaepernick counts as a quarterback still?
Well, he's a mobile quarterback. There's no doubt about it.
I just thought he was.
They went out and beat them,
48
to 19 something?
49 to something. Yeah, I don't even know. It was crazy.
Yeah, 49-18, something like that. It was a blowout. But Colin Kaepernick did have stats in that game.
Yeah.
So you look at it there, and then Johnny Manziel was the other one. And he had a great game. He looked very good in that game. But the Steelers, again, went out and blew them out. 30-9, I believe it was. So there's another blowout. But the difference is, like I said, Manziel, Kaepernick, they had good games in terms of stats. So maybe Russell Wilson will have a solid game in terms of stats. But the difference is, those teams have no defense. Obviously, San Fran and Cleveland, their defenses are horrible. And they have no run game either. Something that obviously Seattle is the best in the league at running the ball. So this is totally different here. They played two mobile quarterbacks. The mobile quarterbacks played good against them, but they had no run game, so they got blown out. They had no defense, so they got blown out. I think this is going to be a much closer game.
I'm looking at the injury report here, and it's only Wednesday, so it's nothing official. It's nothing really that great at all. Brandon Boykin looks like he left practice maybe a little bit early. Terrence Garvin, James Harrison, Matt Spaeth, and Shamarko Thomas were all listed. They all finished practice, so they're seeming like they're good to go. Obviously, they'll be reevaluated on Friday when they come back in and go through their practice, see what they're doing there.
Much needed bye week.
Yeah, on Friday, I'll go and post a more revised injury lineup or injury report, I guess, in the comment section. So fans, just go ahead and check that out. I'll probably put it on our Facebook page too, so you can check it out on facebook.com/betthespread. If you follow us on Twitter at bet_the_spread or follow me on Twitter at betjimtowin, you will also get it that way. Is there turkey done yet, man? I'm starving. I can
You're dead wrong.
Smell it.
What do you think about the Steelers' offense against this defense, though? I mean, like I said, the Seattle Seahawks, they've been good against the pass and run this season, so it's not really anything that their defense is doing wrong this season. But they haven't really been picking the ball off too much. They have just 4 interceptions on the season, so that's a good sign for Big Ben because usually he takes care of the ball most times. So with those two factors in mind, I don't see many turnovers from the Steelers in this game.
I'm a little torn. I don't know what to expect out of this Steeler offense. Now, when they travel on the road, we've said it a lot, they don't usually play as well. When a team has to travel all the way across the country, they don't play as well. Teams generally don't play real well at Seattle. But Ben Roethlisberger's coming off of a bye. He is great coming off of a bye. Mike Tomlin's great coming off of a bye. This team's finally getting a little bit healthier. Not that the major injuries are coming back, but the dinged up guys, they got a little bit of that rest. A late bye week is something new for Pittsburgh. Our bye week is almost always by week 7. So this couple weeks later into the season, I was excited about it when the schedule came up. I knew we'd be beat up. Not this beat up, but every team is beat up at this point. So I wouldn't be shocked if Ben went out and put 35 points up on the board, and I really wouldn't be shocked if he went up and only put like 20 points on the board. I'm expecting, I think, somewhere around the middle. I think Pittsburgh scores about 24 points. I think it's up to the defense in both of these games. Whichever team makes it to 26, I think will win this football game. Because I could see it end in 24-21 even, or 24-18 maybe.
See, I really think they got to get D'Angelo Williams going in this game. That's the one place. I mean, I'm not saying the Seahawks, that's the one place they get beat, but that's where they're a little bit susceptible. Against the pass, they've been great this season. But you look, Antonio Brown, he's been great since Big Ben came back. But let's look who it was against. You got the Oakland Raiders and you have the Cleveland Browns, two of the worst passing defenses in the game. So Antonio Brown isn't going to be running all over the field in this game, wide open the entire time. It's going to be a lot tougher for him. Martavis Bryant looked good last game, obviously. It's going to be tougher for him. Someone else has to step up and out of these wide receivers and help Ben out. You can't just rely on Antonio Brown and Martavis Bryant in this game. And if they don't get the run game going, it's going to be real tough, and I doubt they get the 24 points. They really got to get the run game going and find a third receiver in this game.
I've been reading, and we talked about this a little bit maybe a day or two ago, Dash, that Richard Sherman is going to follow Antonio Brown around the field. Usually Richard Sherman stays on one side of the field, the other guy stays on the other side, but that was in years past. A little bit more this year, you've seen Sherman follow a team's number one guy. Now, to me, I'm not saying it's a bad matchup for Sherman, but I kind of think he's a better matchup for Martavis Bryant than he is for Antonio Brown. Sherman isn't quick, he's tall, he's long, he's physical. So Antonio Brown's shiftiness may work to his advantage over Sherman. He may be able to get in and out of his cuts. I understand, but now you're putting Kerry Williams up on a 6'6" or whatever Martavis Bryant. So the problem for me is now the matchup with Bryant becomes so wide open where I think Kerry Williams could do just as good of a job against Antonio Brown, because I think Brown's going to burn Sherman one way or the other. I think it's inevitable.
You think it's that easy?
Big Ben and Antonio Brown just got it going. I'm not saying he's going to have, 200 or whatever, but Brown's 7 for a buck and a touchdown isn't that, crazy to me. And now you're going to put Kerry Williams going up against Martavis Bryant? Like, are you kidding me? Williams is 6'1", a buck 90. I'd want Sherman on Bryant and Williams on Brown. That's all I'm trying to say. I just think it's a mismatch, and they're putting too many eggs in there. Richard Sherman's the best cover corner in the league. He's a physical corner. He's a great corner. I just don't think he matches up well with AB.
I think you got to look at who Big Ben and Brown were doing this against. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong.
For 2.5 years, though.
I understand. I'm not saying you're wrong. Well, 5 for 50 is a different thing. If they shut him down for 5 for 50, I'm sure they're not thinking that's that big of a deal. But what he's been doing recently is out of this world, really. And it's been against bad defenses, though. I mean, who has he done it against even this entire season that really is a good defense?
But, I mean, he led the league in catches and yards last year, so it wasn't just the 5 for 50. He went big all year last year, and he was in the top 5, at least, in those categories in the season before.
Yeah, he blew up a lot of times, but there was games where he was around 5 catches for 60 yards or something, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to happen in this game, but if it is going to happen, I mean, this is a great game for it to happen in my mind. At Seattle, one of the toughest places to play over the past several years. I know they lost 2 games this season, but again, that was against very good teams. So I don't know if it's going to be as easy as you're saying here, man. What he did this season is miraculous, but just go look and see who he did it against. And let's look at the good defenses they played and see how he did. How'd he do at St. Louis?
11 for a buck 8 and no touchdown, and that was only with Ben Roethlisberger for 1/2.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's a good game.
And Vic only threw 6 passes in that game. So, I mean, he basically had it, unless he hit a big play that I can't remember. Well, I doubt that because Vic only threw for 38 yards.
Yeah. I mean, Big Ben didn't have the greatest game in that game either.
And that was a half. So, who else you got?
Yeah,
the Patriots. The Patriots defense hasn't been too bad this year. They're not great. He had 9 for a buck 33 against them. And now when Ben was out against the Ravens, the Chargers, the Cardinals, and the Chiefs, it was different.
Yeah.
He did have one down game, I think, with Big Ben this year. The Bengals game.
Yeah,
he only had 6 for 47, but he still had a touchdown. So that was pretty much his worst game of the year with Ben Roethlisberger.
Well, I don't know. I'd rather have the 6 for 47 with the touch than 108 yards or something. I want that touchdown, man.
Please believe. 17 for 284.
That's what I'm saying, though. I mean, we've seen the Steelers' offense not have good games where Antonio Brown came up with 10 catches for 108 yards because by the end of the game, that's all they're doing is throwing underneath to Antonio Brown.
Time.
Yeah, exactly. So just because he had 10 catches for 100 yards or whatever doesn't mean that he was a difference maker in that game.
I still just don't think Sherman's the right corner for Seattle to use.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying it's not going to be like it was against the Raiders and the Browns where you just see him wide open all game and you just give him the ball and he runs 60 yards with it.
Unless Cam Chancellor lays him out, I think AB, I mean, not that he's going to do it every single week, but I think that he could do it against any defense. It's just, they may get lucky or, he may
How many
have a bad
passing
day.
yards are the Steelers going to have in this game?
280?
280?
I wouldn't be surprised if Big Ben threw for 300. I'm not guaranteeing it. I think 280 is really the high end of the spectrum.
Like I said, Seattle allows just over 200 yards, so that would be a big game.
I think the Steelers have the right type of offense to do it. I read an article the other day that says the Steelers are the only true competitor for New England in the AFC.
Well, look, at the odds for the Super Bowl came out today in the AFC. The New England Patriots, obviously, first place. The second team, Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, everybody sees that we have the talent. We've just had a rocky season. That's why we're sitting at 6-4. Think about it, man. And I know it's all hindsight and you can't say what ifs or whatever. But if everybody was healthy and we only lost Bell for those 2 games and then Bryant for those 4 games and Ben never missed or whatever, we could easily be sitting at 8-2 right now or maybe even 9-1. Honestly.
I'll tell you what, too. Earlier in the season, we kept saying after that bye, that schedule gets tough. But then, I mean, now that it rolls around, obviously this is still a tough game. But they lost Marshawn Lynch, which hurts. Then you look, we play the Colts after that. No injury luck there. Then you got at the Bengals. They're still a healthy team. You got versus the Broncos. There may be no Peyton Manning there. Then you have at the Ravens. Matt Schaub, maybe. Who'd they just sign?
Christian Ponder.
Oh, I thought they signed...
Or who was it? Who else was it? There was another guy.
There was another
Ponder
guy.
was just signed by somebody today too. Hold on, I'll look it up.
But then they have at the Browns. We don't know who they're going to have a quarterback by that time. So it's not looking as bad as it did earlier in the season, to tell you the truth. I mean, we're going to be facing some backup quarterbacks.
The Ravens took Jimmy Santa Claus.
Oh,
That's
Santa
who it was.
Claus, yes.
Man, who forgets about Santa Claus?
I wouldn't be surprised if he was starting by the time. Yeah, I'm not even saying.
I
Santa
agree,
Claus
man.
had some decent games with the Bears.
Matt Schaub is going to throw at least one pick six this week. I guarantee it. And that's my guarantee of the week right there. Stamp
Dang.
it. He's probably thrown a pick six in 10 games out of his last 15. He's horrible, man. Horrible.
Is Jesse James going to come up with a catch for the third straight game?
Heath. I mean, James. Yes, I think Jesse James is going to start working into the offense a little bit more. I think with Marcus Wheaton being a little bit of a disappointment and Dree Archer's gone now, they're gonna not gonna feature him. That's not what I'm saying. But if he ends up with 2 or 3 catches, that'd probably be around what I would think. 3 for 30 maybe.
They're going to have to get other people involved. Like I said, it can't just be Bryant and Brown in this game, I don't believe.
I'd like to see Jesse James in the red zone. If he could block a little better, if he can get that going.
I mean, I want to see Heath get involved too, obviously. I want to see Marcus Wheaton come up with a frickin' play.
Do something, Wheaton.
No doubt.
What's your key to victory this week?
My key to victory? Well, I mean, that's it. I just said it. They need to get a
Marcus Wheaton to do something.
Or Darius Hayward-Bay. Bring Sammy Coates back in.
So he can drop a pass?
Well, who knows? Probably. But yeah, they got to get a third receiver going in this game because, like I said, Seattle, what they could do best is stop the pass. And if you only have 2 receivers, that makes it just that much easier for them. Even if the receivers are great. Like I said, Brown, he can have 10 catches for 100 yards, and that doesn't hurt you.
I think the Steelers need to get the running game going, and I know that's a very cliche thing to say when you're talking about football. I mean, it's almost everybody's number one step coming into a game is an offense. But if you can get that running game rolling, you can get D'Angelo Williams moving the chains. He's averaging 5 yards a carry this year. The offensive line, it's patchwork, but it's been doing its job this year. So if you can get that run game going, I want to control the clock. If you can hold the ball a little bit longer than Seattle, they're not a big play offense. So if you can limit their touches, and I know you want to limit touches of like an explosive offense as well, but if they get 10 drives, 9 drives, 8 drives, you know what I mean? The chances of them putting up points is so much less compared to other teams. They don't score points in bunches. They don't score on big plays. Jimmy Graham could have a big game against us because tight ends have been killing us. So I'm praying that doesn't happen. But if the Steelers run the ball, control the clock, and play good defense, I think that's the recipe for success. It's going to be an old school slobber knocker in this game. And I'm going to go ahead and give you my official prediction right now, too. And I think Pittsburgh squeaks out the victory 24-21. Boswell.
See, I think your key to victory for the Steelers is the key to the victory for the Seattle Seahawks. They need to get their run game going because if they don't,
oh, for sure.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to beat that Steelers defense.
No way Wilson outduels Big Ben in a passing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, correct.
Pass fest. I mean, it's just not going to happen. Wilson throws the ball 40 times. Big Ben throws the ball 40 times. Let's see what happens.
But
Seattle.
It is funny. You said the Steelers are going to score 24 points in this game because I was thinking before we did the segment, what would the score be? And I'm going to go with the Seattle Seahawks in this game and say, and I was going to put it like this. The Steelers will have a chance to go down and win the game in the end, but they're going to need to score a touchdown.